magic princess and the young gardener. There was once a king, but I didn't hear what country he was over, and he had one very beautiful daughter. Well, he was getting old and sickly, and the doctors found out that the finest medicine in the world for him was the apples of a tree that grew in the orchard just under his window. So you may be sure he had the tree well minded, and used to get the apples counted from the time they were the size of small marbles. One harvest, just as they were beginning to turn ripe, the king was awakened one night by the flapping of wings outside in the orchard, and when he looked out, what did he see but a bird among the branches of this tree? Its feathers were so bright that they made a light all around him, and the minute it saw the king at his nightcap and nightshirt it picked off an apple, and flew away. "Oh, botheration to that thief of a gardener," says the king. "This is a nice way he's watching my precious fruit." He didn't sleep a wink the rest of the night, and as soon as anyone was stirring in the palace, he sent for the gardener, and abused him for his neglect. "Please your majesty," says he, "not another apple you shall lose. My 3 sons are the best shots at the bow and arrow in the kingdom, and they and myself will watch in turn every night." When the night came, the gardener's eldest son took his post in the garden, with his bow strung and his arrow between his fingers, and watched, but at the dead hour, the king, that was wide awake, heard the flapping of wings, and ran to the window. There was the bright bird in the tree, and the boy fast asleep, sitting with his back to the wall, and his bow on his lap. "Rise, you lazy thief," says the king, "there's the bird again, botheration to her." Up jumped the poor fellow, but while he was fumbling with the arrow and the string, away was the bird with the nicest apple on the tree. Well, to be sure, how the king fumed and fretted, and how he abused the gardener and the boy, and what a 24 hours he spent till midnight came again. He had his eye this time on the second son of the gardener, but though he was up and lively enough when the clock began to strike 12, it wasn't done with the last bang when he saw him stretched like one dead on the long grass, and saw the bright bird again, and heard the flap of her wings, and saw her carry away the 3rd apple. The poor fellow woke with the roar the king let at him, and even was in time enough to let fly an arrow after the bird. He did not hit her, you may depend, and though the king was mad enough, he saw the poor fellows were under pistokes, and could not help it. Well, he had some hopes out of the youngest, for he was a brave, active young fellow, that had everybody's good word. There he was ready, and there was the king watching him, and talking to him at the first stroke of 12. At the last clang, the brightness coming before the bird lighted up the wall and the trees, and the rushing of the wings was heard as it flew into the branches, but at the same instant the crack of the arrow in her side might be heard a quarter of a mile off. Down came the arrow and a large bright feather along with it, and away was the bird, with a screech that was enough to break the drum of your ear. She hadn't time to carry off an apple, and bedad, when the feather was thrown up into the king's room it was heavier than lead, and turned out to be the finest beaten gold. Well, there was great glory much made about the youngest boy next day, and he watched night after night for a week, but not a mite of a bird or a bird's feather was to be seen, and when the king told him to go home and sleep, everyone admired the beauty of the gold feather beyond anything, but the king was fairly bewitched. He was turning it round and round, and rubbing it against his forehead and his nose the livelong day, and at last he proclaimed that he'd give his daughter and half his kingdom to whoever would bring him the bird with the gold feathers, dead or alive.